There's no secret that the Kansas City Chiefs beat the San Francisco 49ers in 2020. And then in 2023, they went on to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So we could say that the Kansas City Chiefs are building a dynasty. I mean, in the Mahomes era, they've been to the AFC Championship or better every single year of the Mahomes era when he was a starting quarterback. So it's safe to say that the Chiefs are building a dynasty. Now, if we look at what the Patriots did, they had a top O-line for years, a top defense for years. They had a Hall of Fame quarterback, and their receivers wasn't always the best, but they had a GOAT tight end, and that's kind of the trajectory that we're on right now. Now, our receivers obviously aren't clicking the way we want them to click off rip, but I do believe that they will get it together, and I love what I've seen out of Rashee Rice lately, and I do believe these young dudes will step up. And don't forget, we have weapons like Jerick McKinnon that we're not really using yet, because we're going to use him throughout down in the line of the season, you know, when it gets later in the season. So I think the Chiefs are headed to the Super Bowl once again, because this defense is too good not to, and our offense is going to click. Trust, things just have to get right. I do expect us to have a very big game on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, a few reasons why I don't think Chiefs fans should overlook this Minnesota Vikings game is because, first of all, the Minnesota Vikings have a very high-powered offense, and they just had a win against the Carolina Panthers, and I'm pretty sure they're looking to turn their season around. Now, the ways that we could stop that offense is by, first of all, we have to bring a lot of pressure to the QB, Kirk Cousins, because I know Kirk Cousins, he is like the best. He's the best, worst QB I've ever seen, honestly. And with a dynamic playmaker like Justin Jefferson, who could literally catch the ball on anybody, we're going to have a very good game plan for him. And they still have playmakers like Addison, you got Hawkinson, Alexander Madison. So the Vikings have a very deep offense, and our offense have to play very well to stay up to their level, because say the defense keeps going out there and they get tired, you don't want to be tired against an offense like the Vikings. And now it's gonna turn very bad. It could get ugly real quick. But I don't believe none of that is gonna happen. I believe our offense is gonna do very well. I believe the defensive line is definitely gonna bring some pressure. When you have Chris Jones, who's a DPOY candidate, and an edge rusher like Karlaftis, and you also have Mike Dana, who's having a breakout year in my opinion. And you got FAU. Then you got Meaney, who's going to be coming back soon. The Chiefs' D-line is very, very amazing. And you got dudes like Turk Wharton making plays, Nandi making plays. I don't know why we're not playing Neil Farrell or Keandre Coburn, but I do still love this D-line and what it's doing. And when you talk about the secondary, you have a lot of playmakers like Trent McDuffie, who's locked down. You got L'Jarius Sneed, who's locked down. Let's take a look at Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed's advanced stats this season. So Trent McDuffie has only allowed 11 receptions, 140 yards, 12.7 yards per route, I think that says. 8.2, I don't know what that stands for, with 3 breakups. And he has 0 touchdowns allowed right now. So McDuffie's having a very great year. I mean, that Allen Lazard play, I was at the game. It was kind of like, I don't know. McDuffie looked like he slipped at the end. It's all right. It happens. But he's having a very good year, if you ask me. And let's take a look at the receivers that he's locked up this season so far. So he's faced some solid dudes. Josh Reynolds gave him 57 yards. Christian Kirk, 26. That's very good, locking up Christian Kirk. Darnell Mooney's also very talented. So holding him to 15. Holding Christian Kirk to 26. Those are 2 talented wide receivers. Holding Allen Lazard to 42 and giving him 1 lucky target or 1 lucky reception that was a big gain isn't really bad either. So McDuffie is still a stud, and he had that bad game. It's all right. But we're going to see what he does next week against a loaded wide receiver core and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and KJ Osborne. This is going to be a challenge for the Chiefs defense, but I do believe that we will overcome. Justin Jefferson is obviously going to get his yards regardless. Even if we run too high, deep safeties, if we run that coverage, I still believe Justin Jefferson is going to get some yards on us, which is okay because I expect us to force him to some field goals. I expect our defensive line to get some pressure on Kirk Cousins. And I do think our offense is going to respond against a weak Vikings secondary. L'Jarius Sneed has allowed 16 receptions, 161 yards, with 0 TDs allowed. So L'Jarius Sneed is also playing very well, similar to Trent McDuffie, and he's faced some tougher dudes so far, if you ask me. And I want to see what he's going to do next week as well. And I know y'all probably like, what is the correlation? You was just talking about how we're going to be a dynasty. Now you're talking about the game. Well, this is because the Minnesota Vikings versus the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to help us get closer and closer to that bye week. And obviously that bye week is going to help us go to the Super Bowl. And I do believe we're going to get that bye week with a #1 seed in the AFC right now, 3-1. So I think we're going to get that bye week again. And that'll definitely help us go to the Super Bowl, man. This is who Sneed has faced: Josh Reynolds, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and Garrett Wilson. He did pretty well against these dudes, in my opinion. Locked them up. Yeah, man. Forced them to some pretty bad games. But we also must talk about Isaiah Pacheco. And when we gave him 20-plus carries, he got 115 rushing yards with 158 total yards, I believe. So he was also receiving the ball pretty well. And I want to see him get involved more in the passing game because he's very fast. He's dominant. He could give you some very great yard after catch ability. And him on 20 carries is a guaranteed 100 yards. So if we could keep giving him 20-plus carries, then that can help us open up the passing game a lot more because defenses are going to fear Isaiah Pacheco on the ground. And they're going to definitely fall for the run more, giving the Kansas City Chiefs the ability to literally use their passing attack even better. And Travis Kelce, man, he hasn't been the Travis Kelce that we've known because he's still recovering from an injury. But I believe he's going to get back on track. He's going to get back on track. Travis Kelce definitely should have a 100-yard game next week against the Minnesota Vikings. Rashee Rice, I want to see him involved more. Justin Ross is going to ease into the game plan more. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they're building a very great rushing attack. They have a very good offensive line. Check that. That sounds like the Patriots dynasty. So check off the offensive line. Check off the running backs. Check off the Hall of Fame quarterback. Kelce's getting old, but he's still our tight end. So check off the GOAT tight end. And then you're left with, what else we need? The wide receivers that they don't have big names, but they're making plays, and you're spreading the ball around to them. And then you have the defense. So the Kansas City Chiefs are doing everything that they could to become the next dynasty. And I'm going to troll right here and make a little joke. We also have the refs help, just like Brady did. And this is how y'all sound. They rig everything for us, and the refs make us win the game. So I guess, I don't know, I don't agree, but I guess that's another reason why we're going to be a dynasty, because apparently the refs just give us every call, even though they literally call holding on our offensive line every single play. We're not going to get into that. But the Kansas City Chiefs are building something very special, man, and all this should lead to us becoming a dynasty. And hopefully we're right back in the Super Bowl this year and we win it. If not, we definitely got it next year. Chiefs priority, and I'm out. Peace.